Noura is a human rights lawyer, scholar, and the author of the book Justice for Some, Law and the Question of Palestine. It is with deep respect and admiration that I'm bringing Noura to the stage tonight.
Joy that I feel right now in your company. The joy in being able to gather with a testament to our ancestors, with a testament, a commitment to the generations after us, that we are fighting, that we fought for our humanity, that we were here, that we said no, that we gathered, that we had no fear. Gaza was once a city district of historic Palestine that sits on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, that its harbor and fertile land has made it a focal point of trade and empire for centuries, including the Romans, the Mongols, and Napoleon's France. That prior to 1948, the Gaza district contained almost 90 towns and villages. It was 38 times larger than the current 140 square mile strip. Should I tell you that upon Israel's establishment, a severely truncated Gaza absorbed nearly 25% of Palestinian refugees exiled from their former homes, increasing its population from 80,000 to 280,000, that number has grown to 2.2 million today, who are predominantly refugees and children. Do I explain to you that Israel began to circumscribe this Palestinian territory in 1993 as it was entering into the Oslo Peace Accords? That it began a process of de-development, isolation, containment of Gaza with the intent to make it a Palestinian statelet and to instead focus on annexing the West Bank, whose land it coveted and whose natives it also sought to remove. In this context, I can tell you that Israel imposed a land siege and a naval blockade, hermetically sealing this coastal enclave, placing it on a subsistence diet just above starvation, relegating it to conditions of bare life, and then systematically pummeling it with advanced weapons technologies in a bid to take the land without the people. Should I speak to you as an attorney and tell you that when Israel withdrew its settlers and military infrastructure in 2005, that it maintained its effective control over the population registry, the skies, the underground water sources, the electromagnetic spheres, all points of ingress and egress, and thus remains in occupying power with the duty to protect its civilians? That Israel has no right to self-defense against territory that it occupies. It has no right to self-defense against territory that it occupies, no more than Portugal had the right to self-defense to protect its hold on Mozambique and Angola. Should I explain that people fighting against colonial domination, alien occupation, and racist regimes, Palestinians have a right to use armed force so long as it's regulated by the laws of war, would it be helpful to tell you that any force must be bound by principles of distinction and proportionality, and that Israel has promised to disavow both? Its top military and political brass have made clear that their purpose is destruction, not accuracy. There are no Palestinian civilians, that hospitals and schools and sources of electricity and fuel are not afforded the presumption of civilian infrastructure. Do I remind you that they have expressed a specific intent to destroy in whole or in part a people based on the racial, ethnic, national, or religious grounds? Should I remind you that they need not kill a single person in order to be prosecuted for the crime of intent and incitement according to the Genocide Convention? Should I recite the numbers anyway, that in 26 days, Israel has killed more Palestinians that were murdered in the Bosnian genocide? Do I tell you that for the past 2 decades, Israel has not gotten away with murder, but has changed international law to make its grotesque violence permissible? That it says Gaza is not occupied, nor is it sovereign, it is a hostile entity. That it claimed that this is not a civil war, nor is it an international armed conflict, but it's this new category, an armed conflict short of war. That Palestinians participating in hostilities are not merely legitimate targets when they pick up arms, but even when they lay asleep next to their partners in homes filled with their families. That the lives of their soldiers are worth more than the lives of enemy civilians, and proportionality is forward-looking, so that untold destruction is reasonable and recommended in the language of law. Do I remind the world, do I remind you all, that what happens to Palestinians now sets a new precedent that means that everywhere, anywhere in the globe,
so far, the H group in Palestine has already killed nearly 3,000 IDF soldiers and injured over 11,000 IDF soldiers. And they've destroyed hundreds of vehicles, tanks, bulldozers, etc. This is a group that is running around in Adidas pants and flip-flops. A group that's cut off from the world. Can you imagine how furious the people in Israel are right now? Of course, mainstream media isn't reporting any of this, but the people inside Israel have clear evidence. Their sons and daughters are coming back in boxes. You can't hide that. You can't hide that. People are grieving. People are upset with the Israeli government. They've had enough. People are leaving Israel and not looking back. To all the Israelis, peace is the only way. Because you can't get rid of a force that is underground. And you don't know where these tunnels are leading. You don't even know if they're getting resupplied underground. You don't even know. And then you want another front with your neighbor to the north. And those guys are not cut off from the world, and they have combat experience in Syria. And they're dug in the fucking mountains. America can't help you there. If you know the terrain better than the Americans do, and you say you can't deal with the H group in Lebanon, how do you expect another group to deal with them? I think your arrogance blinded you. I was once arrogant. And believe me, I was arrogant, and I didn't mean to. It was just because of the way I grew up. I became arrogant. But let me tell you, God humbled the fuck out of me. And I'm telling you right now, God is going to humble the fuck out of you people. If you don't fucking go to the peace negotiations and, you know, give Palestinians something that is fair and give them their dignity back, I'm telling you, God is going to humble the fuck out of you. And I don't want to see you guys being destroyed. I don't want to see any life being destroyed. When I walk, I make sure I don't step on bugs. I don't want to see anybody suffering. But I'm going to make a prediction here. Israel, for the first time, will lose territory in this conflict. Mark my words.